Hello, I am Walter Dillard, and today I want to talk about life insurance for the young and healthy. Gonna walk while I talk because that's how I do my business. Anyway, when it comes down to it, when it comes to life insurance, many people think about getting life insurance only once they've had a scare in life, when they had a stroke, when they had a heart attack, when they really considered what is it like to not be around anymore. What is it like to be gone? What's it like for your family at that point? You really wonder that when you hit one of those, near-death experiences, or you hit that heart attack, you hit that stroke, which really count, of course, as near-death experiences. But when you go through that, you really have that feeling of, I need to insure against my death so that my family can be okay. But at the end of the day, that's not just everybody, okay? Many people, such as myself, end up being young, decently successful, going after what they want, have high ambitions, and we see the risk ahead of time. And, that's really what this is all about. Seeing that risk ahead of time, seeing the fact that our families need something in case we're going to be gone, And this was definitely big to me because, I always worried about dying before retirement age. I'm big on investments. I'm big on, being able to plan for the future, to have a lot of savings, to have a lot of investments, to really be able to compound with time, that kind of stuff. So I know by the time I'm 65, I'm going to be okay. I know that by that point, my family's going to be completely okay. By the end of my working years, I've earned enough, I've invested enough, and I'm going to be there. But at the same time, that's nearly 40 years away, And what happens if I die in the meantime? What happens if I'm completely healthy and I'm doing everything right and I'm dieting and I'm exercising, etc., and then I walk across the street and get hit by a bus, Now, of course, look both ways, and we're all going to do that, but at the same time, you can't control what's going to happen in that kind of scenario. A lot of freak accidents happen to a lot of people. A lot of health conditions pop up on people, A lot of people die before they get to retirement age. Stats have previously shown in the past that number could be back in the 90s, where I'm getting this stat from a book, so might not be quite up to date at this point. But, back from there, the numbers show that 36% of people were dead by the time that retirement came around, by the time they should be retiring. Now, I assume we've cut down on this stat a lot, since then. But at the same time, there are a decent number of people who are going to die before retirement age at 65, And so at the end of the day, we all need life insurance policies that can protect our families against death before age 65. And this is just me personally. I always felt this need because it's like, what is my family going to have when I'm gone? What is my spouse going to have to survive on when I'm gone? What about our cats? What about our snake? Yes, we have 2 cats. We have a snake, It's great time. It's a lot of fun. And at the same time, it's like, what are they going to have? How is there going to be mice for our snake? How is there going to be cat food for our cats? How is there going to be cat litter? How is there going to be this? How is there going to be that? How is she going to survive here, particularly with funeral expenses? How is that going to work out, And of course, I'm still in my 20s. But to me, it was important for me personally to get a policy like this that was not going to break the bank, was not going to cost a fortune, but was going to get me coverage for the next 40 years. And that's what I went with. I went with high coverage myself, over $700,000 in coverage, personally what I went for, And I went for it on a low deal per month. I'm not paying $1,000 a month. I'm paying way, way less than that. And yet I still have $700,000 in coverage because I'm still in my 20s. I'm very healthy. And, that's a number to me that makes me feel safe about my family. That's a number where I feel like I am doing my job, That if I'm gone, I'm replacing a lot of my earning years. Yes, by the time I'm 65, I should be above that point, But to me, that was the level that I felt like I should get protected up to, That was the level where I felt like I was giving enough coverage for my earning years. Not just for my family to survive, but for them to thrive, For their things to be okay. For this not to be a situation where it's like hard times and having to figure out what to do in less than a year, figuring out this, figuring out that. To me, it's all about having enough money for them to not only survive, but to thrive. And for them to have that for a long enough period so that my nest egg can do well. Because a lot of people are going to try to push like whole life policies and at least your guaranteed payoff, etc. But at the same time, you can compound your own investments and get more money faster. So to me, that's the way to go. It's a way where you can get a great deal based on your age and your health, so that you can get a lot of coverage, a huge amount of money at a younger age while you're healthy, which is why I'm talking about this, something that I did myself, so that you can have that coverage at a younger age while you're healthy, and at the same time be able to set aside most of your money, not paying into a policy like this, but setting it aside, and then be able to invest that and grow that nest egg. So by the time you're 65, when the coverage is going to roughly run out, if you get coverage only to that point, as I personally pushed, getting coverage to age 66, it's a point where your investments have already grown big enough. So if you were to die at that point, at least your investments are going to take care of your family. Versus at this point, you've locked in a low rate per month. Success right there, and growing this money continuously, So your investments are growing and you've got a good life insurance policy at a low rate. That's entirely what I'm just here to talk about, because it's something I've done and it's something I have worked to do with other people. And it's really one of those things that just takes the load off. It just really has that feeling of I've protected my family not only against like funeral expenses and whatever for a small policy, but I've gotten a good rate and I've locked it in, up until retirement age. This really gave me a ton of comfort in life, and I hope that this will be able to really give you that kind of good feeling as well. So anyway, that would be about it on this one. Check out the next video as well, as I'm going to be talking about this for a long, long time, because I'm incredibly pleased by it, and I want to help as many people as well feel the way I feel about how great this is. Cheers to ya.